Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12:10, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start off with roll call.
Anthony Oresti, present.
Esmeralda Solis present.
Nerita Cantu present.
Roberto Zamora, present.
And Alex Cantu, present. I do declare a quorum. We'll go on to Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation. So after our Pledge of Allegiance, can we keep standing for 30 seconds of silence? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, public comments. We have none. So then we move on to item number 6, public hearing to discuss 2023 proposed tax rate for the school year 2023-2024.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Gonzalez, and members of the community. My name is Ben Garza. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for LJISD. And I'm here to present to you in a public hearing on the proposed tax rate for 23-24. And I'd like to thank you, board members, for coming in at this time. I know coming at noon out of your busy schedules is very difficult, but I appreciate you all coming over here today at noon because we have a deadline today for this tax rate. And this is very important that we do this today because paperwork needs to be submitted to the state by the end of 5 o'clock. So I appreciate your presence. Okay. It's freezing. Okay. Keep in mind, this was a legislative year for the state of Texas. Some decisions made by the state had an impact on the proposed tax rate. Some variables impacting the proposed tax rate: the Hidalgo County Appraisal District certified the property values on July 25th, 2023. The district in turn submit these values to the Texas Education Agency. Then in August, TEA issues the maximum compressed rate, or what's called the MCR, based on these certified values. Staff is seeking a voter approval tax rate election, or what's called a VATRE for short. And I did not update my slide there. I apologize for that. I thought I had the updated one available. I apologize. Let me put a hold on this real quick because this is not the
As you prepare that, Mr. Garza, I'd like to just greet the members of the board, members of the community. I'd like to just recognize and thank Dr. Miguel de los Santos for being present with us. Thank you, sir, for many, many years and actually decades of service to our region and our school community, and your counsel on this issue is valuable to this board and this community.
I'm going to have to go with this one because I don't have the correct presentation, but I'll make my adjustments as we're going along. I do apologize for that. So if I continue on, part of the requirements to adopt the tax rate is to have a public hearing, which we are doing so today. We have to advertise the proposed tax rate in the newspaper. We advertise it in the Monitor on August 11, 2023. And the tax collector must certify the estimated collection rate, and it was certified on July 12th, 2023, and the board approved it on August 8th. Based on the initial $40,000 homestead exemption submitted to TEA, The 2023 certified grand total net taxable value came in at $3,947,737,588, an increase of $592,155,970 over the 2022 certified grand total net taxable value, or a 17.64% increase. At that time, the survey submitted to TEA resulted with a maximum compressed rate, or MCR, of 0.7155, or 71.55 cents. During the summer, the state held a special session and passed Senate Bill 2 and further compressed the MCR, where 0.06192 is now the new MCR, or 61.92 cents. La Jolla's ISD MCR is at the floor at 61.92. So my recommendation and rationale for partial use of the compressed pennies for a voter approval tax rate election. And now keep in mind, this is the not updated slide, but I have it here in front of me. And Mr. Jaime, can you get the ones that are outside in the front and maybe pass them out to the board so they can see what I'm showing here? And what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to put it on this item right here so he can see what I am proposing. All right, here we go. So I have it up here. All right. I do apologize for that. So for the, can you all see it on your computers?
Yes.
Yes.
For fiscal year 2024, the state, I'll wait, and that's slide number 6.
Thank you.
It's page number 6, right?
Slide number 6, yes.
Okay,
sir.
I see it.
Yes. So here we have for fiscal year 2024, the state compressed the M&O tax rate by 18.54 cents. This compression has no effect on any homestead valued at $100,000 or less. The school taxes paid by these homesteads will be zero. Let me repeat that. The school taxes paid by these homesteads will be zero. They will not pay any dollars. Regardless of whatever the tax rate may be, any individual's homestead is $100,000 or less will be $0 amount. I'll make that clear. There will be a moderate effect on homes valued at more than $100,000. The district can decide on usage of the compression pennies with the following methods. One is to maximize Tier 2 state funding and hold a voter approval tax rate election, a VRTRE.
Mr. Garza,
Yes.
just for the sake of our parents listening at home and our homestead, owners, could you just summarize that in common lay terms?
So if I own a home or property and I claimed it as a homestead exemption, and if it's valued at $100,000 or less,
Right.
I won't pay any school taxes at all. It doesn't matter what rate I set it at today. I will pay zero school taxes. And if I own property about $150,000, you can subtract, and it's classified under homestead. I can subtract out $100,000 from that value and only pay school taxes on $50,000, which comes down significantly.
And that will be done with or without a TRE.
Correct.
This is not depending on the TRE.
Not dependent on the TRE at all. Staff recommends a voter approval tax rate election for the board to consider in its decision. The leverage of the 3.17 cents with voter approval and the reduction of the total tax rate by 20.39 cents for all ISD, La Jolla ISD taxpayers.
Again, can you summarize that for our taxpayers at home in layman terms?
Yes, and I have a slide, sir, on the next one that'll show even more clear than this. I'm a visual person, and this will reflect on what I'm talking about here. The rationale here is that 3.17 cents will require a proposition to the voters for a voter approval tax rate election. The 3.17 cents will maximize our Tier 2 state funding. The district will earn a total of approximately $5 million, $4 million from the state and $1 million for local tax collection funds. So for every $1 in tax effort, there is a 400% return in state aid. These funds will be used for varied operational purposes, such as supplementing teacher and staff retention and recruitment strategies, safety needs, and other various student needs. This is especially necessary in a time of inflation and new state mandates without new state monies. The 20.39 cents will be part of the total tax rate reduction for all La Jolla ISD taxpayers. The current tax rate we are today is at $1.27. The proposed tax rate is 1.0661, a tax rate reduction of 0.2039 or 20.39 cent reduction. And let me be a little bit more clear. I'm a visual person, and I
Let me
have,
say something about that too.
yes,
Would you put it up on the screen? No, the previous ones.
oh,
So that tax reduction is not based on what we had proposed in our budget. The tax reduction is because of state action. Am I correct? It's because of what the state has decided to do legislatively, that our proposed tax rate has to be decreased.
on the proposed tax rate, it includes the 3.17 cents, which is not included in our budget.
So then what is the implication?
The implication is if we do not go with the 3.17 cents,
Right.
we are out $5 million, bottom line.
We will lose that back
We
to
will
the
lose
state.
that access to
No,
$5
when we
million.
were-
So if
But
we don't
what-
take action today, we will lose that.
We will lose that, yes.
But you made a statement just now. It says that that we will, let me go back. When we approved the budget, it was not approved with the condition that a TRE be passed.
Correct.
So it is not contingent. This year's budget is not contingent on this particular TRE being passed.
Correct.
I just want to clarify that.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
And those $5 million of savings, you said it was going to teacher and staff retention, recruitment strategies, safety needs, and other various student needs?
Yes.
And the various student needs would be what,
as
far as curriculum goes?
Curriculum, I'm going to pass that over to
I think your
Mr. Munoz.
resolution only says compensation.
Once we have access to these additional funds, good afternoon, by the way. Once we have access to these additional funds, I know that we were going to survey our stakeholders, meet with their principals, meet with their teachers to see how it is that we can leverage these additional funds. I know that one of the requests that has come in from the principals is having access to funds to put together some student attendance incentives. I know that you were very generous last year in giving us additional funds to be able to incentivize attendance and enrollment. So that's one of the things that the principals and teachers have asked for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, sir.
Additional question, Mr. Garza. So
Yes.
again, we'd be reducing taxes by 20.39, which also includes what the state action was, right?
Right. Mhm.
But on addition to reducing taxes, we'd have $5 million more for teacher and staff retention, recruitment, and our students.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I look at the visual part of this, and this is, I have a smaller picture I'll show you in a minute. This is a general idea. On the top portion, you have two columns. The current tax rate with the disaster pennies. Don't forget we have that in our current tax rate. And then our proposed tax rate for the 23-24 school year. So we have our maintenance and operations is currently at 0.9746, and it's going to be reduced down to 0.7892, a reduction of 0.1854 cents. And our debt service or interest and sinking is currently at 0.2954, and it's going to be reduced down to 0.2769, a reduction of 0.0185. And our total tax rate decrease would be from $1.27 today to 1.0661, a reduction of 20.39 or 0.2039 cents. So I'm going to get into the detail of it, which is mentioned below, but I made another slide that contains that. So here's the top portion, what I just finished mentioning. As you can see, it's going to be, this is what we're proposing to reduce it by the 20 cents right there. And if I go into detail, I'm going to go over the maintenance and operations first. And by going into the maintenance of operations, you can see in details, you can see exactly how it's being reduced. So we have our maximum compressed rate, which is tier 1 pennies from the state, 0.8046 in 2022. It's going to go down to 0.6192. That's the floor. That's where we're at as well. That is a reduction of 0.1854. So here's the tier 2 pennies. As you all heard in your workshops, gold pennies, copper pennies were here. This is where it comes into play. The gold pennies is currently at 8 pennies. Well, that ain't changing. That's as many as we can get, and that's what we have, 8 pennies. No change. Then we have the copper pennies. Right now, the copper pennies way back when was compressed down to 0.0583, and that has no change at this point. Then we have the disaster pennies currently. Remember last year we had the disaster of Winter Storm Uri. Well, we're able to access that 3.1 cents right there. We're able to access that without the voter approval. Well, and that's what I'm trying to keep. I'm trying to keep those 3 pennies, but I can't keep them without the voters saying yes to it, okay, which is the VATRE. I cannot keep those 3 pennies unless I get voter approval, okay? That 3 pennies is $5 million, okay? So if we look at the differences, overall, these 3 pennies offset it because the taxpayers were already paying it. They were already paying it for the past 2 years. Okay, they're already used to that payment.
So, Mr. Garza,
yes,
this is why we're here today, correct? Because we have to, as a board, move forward or take action to allow our voters to give us permission to use those pennies for our school district, right? For our teachers, our students, our school needs,
yes,
correct?
That is correct.
If this board does not take action, then that savings, that projected savings then goes where? What happens to that if we do not take action today?
We just don't, we can't add it to our budget anymore. We lose it. We don't have access to those funds that is needed here in this district.
Right, so we need those pennies, but that then just will revert back to the government coffers.
Correct.
When we can actually avail ourselves of those $5 million essentially for student needs, school needs, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Do you see any possible harm to any, is there a cost deference or is there a cost effect to us negatively to the district?
Well, we lose $5 million. So we don't have access to it that we can use this year for other things that are needed in this district.
So moving forward then benefits the school district, our teachers and our students, and also our taxpayers do not have to pay any additional taxes, correct?
They do not pay additional taxes. And keep in mind, Mr. Gonzalez, that our homestead exemption went up from 40,000 to 100,000. So a lot more households will not be affected by this at all because they will pay probably no taxes at all.
I have a question. So
yes.
Say, we approve this today and it goes out for the election in November, passes. When would this funding become available to the district?
I'll defer that to Mr. De Los Santos. I don't know the exact date we'll get it available. It is throughout the year. They go back and they readjust our formula, sir.
Okay.
And once they readjust our formula to see how much we'll be earning, then they start compensating us those dollar amounts throughout the remainder of the school year.
It's a process.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that money.
Okay.
So we're speaking about an administrative recommendation. We have also legal counsel recommending and bond counsel. We have our consultants. So essentially, what is the recommendation today and how well founded is the recommendation?
All positive, sir, because this is a move that doesn't come often, that we can access funds such as this without an increase in actual tax rate. This tax rate's actually, we're voting on reducing a tax rate, but yet we're going to get $5 million.
Right.
You don't hear that anywhere.
Just to emphasize that again, Mr. Garza, so the voter would go out and vote for the tax rate, correct?
Yes.
And that would result in an additional reduction to their taxes, correct?
If they do not vote for it, their taxes get further reduced by those 3 pennies. Okay? But for the people, for the taxpayers that have a homestead exemption of $100,000 or less, it doesn't affect them at all.
And do we have an estimate from the appraisal district of how many houses we have in our communities that are under 100,000?
I don't have
No.
anybody under 100,000, but what I do have, that's a good question for you to ask, is right here in the bottom, I have the homestead qualified for the homestead exemption.
Oh, okay.
15,315 people will be affected.
How does that compare to our surrounding school districts? Would you happen to know that or no?
I don't have that information, I'm sorry.
But on that note, Mr. Oresti, our surrounding school districts, most of them or many of them have taken advantage of this opportunity. I know we have some of our board members that are not here, but among one of them, they moved forward in their district, right? At Couch Elsa, they moved forward with a bond of moving forward and taking advantage of the opportunity. And so I'm just, re-emphasizing that this is a completely benign and evidently logically beneficial to our school community and to our school district. And we're speaking about $5 million here that are on the balance for the sake of our children. And it just would require, of course, our board moving forward with allowing us to avail ourselves of this wonderful opportunity.
So just
Yes.
to make a point here, a TRE is not required if there's no tax increase. We keep saying that it is a decrease.
Well, what I was about to say that, Dr. Somota, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What the voters are approving on is these 3 pennies here. They have to allow us to keep these 3 pennies for their tax rate. Therefore, those 3 pennies that you see there, it's next year, they're going to jump into the copper pennies, and your copper pennies will now be at 9 cents. So then our total tax rate will always be at 17 cents between the copper pennies and the gold pennies. And furthermore, we don't have to depend on a disaster happening in our district to access that money. That's happened to us 2 years straight. I don't want to have to depend on a disaster to access this money to fix our schools and for our insurance rate to be increasing and down the line. So this move right here would be beneficial to our district. As Chief Financial Officer, this is a good move. This is the perfect timing to do this.
Well, let me just add a couple of things, and this is just me speaking. I think I don't understand, how or why any other district would not take advantage of something like this. I know that I've been hearing around and everybody, this is once an opportunity. So we, as a district, I believe we need to take advantage of it. And I think me personally, I think it would be very irresponsible for me not to support something like this, especially because you're still giving the voter and the community the right to vote on it. And you said it yourself here, it'll be used to supplement teachers, staff retention, recruitment strategies, safety needs, and various student needs. That for me, right there is what it's about. And you coming here and giving us that recommendation, I don't see how it's not a win-win for the district and for this community. So this is me personally, but I'll support it.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu. If I move forward, I'm not on the debt service fund. The calculation for the debt service last year was at 0.2954. That's calculated based on the debt that's owed that year. That's the principal and interest, and this year it was calculated to be at 0.2769. I'm not touching that. That's going to be reduced by 0.0185. That fluctuates depending on how much debt we owe or our debt payment is for that year. So in this case, it's still going down a penny. So overall, the tax rate would be decreasing from $1.27 to 1.0661, a reduction of 20.39 cents.
That's with the increase also, sir?
That's with the 3 pennies that the voters have to approve to access that extra funds. Okay? That's with it. If the voters don't want it, well, their tax rate will go even further down to 1.03 cents. So here is the big picture right there with the top portion I showed you earlier and the total tax rate decreasing by 20 cents. And in summary, the total tax rate is reduced from the $1.27 to 1.0661. Approximately $5 million in funds can be accessed for operations, and the total tax decrease of 20.39 cents. No school property taxes on any homestead valued at $100,000 or less, regardless of the tax rate. This is so important to me and to this school that Mr. Gonzalez, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, but it's so important to me that my wife right now is having a procedure done at the doctor's, and I need to ask if I can have the afternoon off. But I came here because this is how important it is to this district. Very important to this district. That we do not lose, we need to give the voters a chance to say yes or no. And that concludes my presentation for the public hearing. So we can move on to the meeting, Mr. President. Or if there's any questions from the public?
I think we need to ask, but with that being said, I do what you just said right now, Mr. Garza. I really appreciate you being here. That truly means a lot on behalf of the entire board, and also everybody that's here today, especially this board right now that made time to come and listen to this presentation. That's very important. I thank you all for being here today. And if there's no other questions, then we can move on.
Are we going to talk more about the TRE as we go through the resolutions, or is this it?
We could.
We could, all the questions that you may have.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was just a public hearing.
This is just.
Okay, I know that I don't want to get ahead in terms of the resolutions. But I know that one of the things that when we experience a disaster, it's not required, and that is an efficiency audit. And I'm just, I believe that an efficiency audit for this district would be very beneficial. I know that other districts are doing it. It doesn't say that we don't have to. It says that we may not, do it. But I do believe that an efficiency audit of the district is very much needed.
Dr. Somala, just for your, so you can feel better about it, you can ask my Executive Director for Budget and Finance. We've already
taking measures.
Contracted, is the word I was looking for, I'm so sorry. Contracted Mo Casey to do our efficiency audit. So after today, if it goes through, tomorrow we're going to give them the go-ahead to start.
How long would it take him to conduct the audit?
I don't know if they gave it an estimated time, but again,
well, I know that there are timelines for it, and that we need to do it sometime in October.
Yeah, and so they're going to
complete it. I mean,
they're going to start
timelines even for naming who's going to do it. That has already gone and passed, but it's not a requirement.
Right.
But I believe that it would be.
And it's not a requirement, if I may say, only because last year we used we made use of the disaster pennies. If we didn't make use of the disaster pennies last year, it would be required of us to do the efficiency audit. But we're still doing it anyways to be transparent about our work.
Thank you, Dr. Zamora. We had actually taken measures accordingly as well, so we had the same idea and same concern.
Thank you.
There are no more questions. We would move on to item number 7, public input. Anyone in the public? With that being said, then we'll close this public hearing at 12:40. And then we will move on to item number 9. Consider an order authorizing the deficiency and redemption.
We're not.
Oh, there's no action?
We're going to take action on that.
Okay, so then we're moving on to number 10. Okay, we're moving on to number 10. Approval of resolution number 2023-08, setting the tax rate for the 2023-2024 school year of a minimum of $1.1661 per every $100 valuation, with 7.7892 cents for the maintenance and operation and 0.3769 cents for the interest of sinking for the La Joya ISD School District, making certain findings and providing for a severability clause.
Mr. President, and we need to make a change on that because this was decided after the agenda was posted, that 0.3769 should read 0.2769, and the tax rate should be at 1.0661.
Okay, let's go back. The minimum is
1.0661.
0.0661. And then the other one was the operations, right?
Yeah, that was, and then the 3769 should read 2769.
2769.
All because we did away with item number 9. Because we did away with item number 9, it changes those rates on item number 10.
So it goes lower.
Sorry?
It goes lower then.
I can't hear that.
It's lower then.
It reduces.
It
It reduces, yes. Oh, it's lower. Is that
Yes,
what you're
lower.
saying? Yes.
Okay, with that being said, I need a motion to approve.
Wait. And to approve that, the law states we have to read the motion with certain words involved, and I gave that to Mr. Munoz.
So, can you give us a total, can you give us a total of the change, with the changes?
The total tax rate will end up being
27.
1.0661, Dr. Somora.
Okay, thank you.
Legal's going and getting the correct motion then.
So this is prior to the TRE, so that the TRE doesn't pass, then this will be,
It would automatically be reduced to the 1.0661 minus the 3.17.
wouldn't we then need to approve the one,
No, it's
the letter, the last one?
It's an automatic, sir. So if it passes, if this tax rate adoption right now passes, and the voters say no to it, then our tax rate defaults down without the 3 pennies automatically.
I would want to have that included in the motion.
Yes, right, I think it would be good.
Okay, well,
Because I think that it reverts back, at least the way that I understand it, it just reverts back to the adopted tax rate,
that's
which is the one that we would be setting right now.
but that's written in law though. That's automatic.
That's
already
automatic
written in law.
default, right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, include it in the motion, what it will be.
Okay, it's because the motion that needs to be read, they're specific in how it needs to be read. And I don't know who has it up there, who's gonna make that
Right,
motion.
we have the motion.
Yes.
Yeah, the law requires for the motion to be read in with certain vernacular, right? So it has to be,
Yes, sir.
you're raising any taxes by a negative point, whatever.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's
sir.
what the law requires.
The reversion that Dr. Zamora is talking about doesn't have to be in the motion because it's written in the statute. It's going to be automatically reverted to. That's why it doesn't have to be in the motion.
Well, I will vote for it because of that,
Right.
Right.
But
that
if we're
it
talking
is understood to be there.
it's in the statute, yes, that it's going to be reverted. If we're talking about the same thing,
Would you want that repeated, like Dr. Zamora? Like, I mean, it has to be read a certain way, but parenthetically, you can say the clause will, it's in
I think that you
statute.
just can put it in parentheses in your motion and whatever reaches there.
We can put it in here if that's the case. I mean, at the end.
I would recommend we not change our motion. That motion is very written specifically for that. What Dr. Zamora wants to add in, and it doesn't have to be in our motion. because
Right,
it's
can we do
reversion
a
clause that's
parenthetic
already in
verbal
the statute.
statement
Can it
before
be-
the motion?
Can it be reflected in the minutes? Is that
It already
something?
is.
It already is.
Us talking about it, it's already in the minutes.
Or put that statute behind our agenda or
Right.
motion or question on the motion. I know we changed, the sentence changed here, it decreased. Is it already reflected?
It's already
in this
been
motion?
updated, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think what you had said earlier, at least in passing,
Right, so just
the three-
parenthetically what's in
just to
statute.
show that it will be even less than
Yes.
the 1.06.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, with that being said, I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the resolution as presented and that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.0661, which is effectively a 19.28% increase in the tax rate.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
I have a second by Dr. Cantu. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote for it with that understanding of the
That's-
1.03.
Understood.
I want the public to know
Yes.
that this is a tax increase election. But
Understood.
I'll have a different one on the next one.
Understood.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Then moving on to item number 11, discussion and possible action to adopt election order for the voter approval tax rate election on November the 7th, 2023.
Can we go back? Was that 5 votes? Did I get my?
Yes.
Okay, then we can move on.
Then again, I'll read item number 11, discussion and possible board action to adopt election order for the voter approval tax rate election on November 7th, 2023. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
This is the
On-
motion.
On this one, sir, I have noticed again that Peñitas is being left out of the election sites, and I would cast a no vote.
Oh, okay, so.
Well, I don't, what
I-
does that have to do?
We haven't, right, we have an explanation with that coming from the county, that they're still working with that, but that has nothing to do with the school district. Do you want to expound on that?
I did make contact with Hilda Salinas at the county, and they have deemed the area right now as a safety hazard on that voting site. So the city is working with the county on trying to find a better place to have a voting site, but at this time, they did not meet their timeline for the county to approve a voting site in the city of Peñitas. But they may be having one as soon as the primaries are coming in March or May.
Right.
At the VFW. So-
Right, I can add to that, Dr. Zamora, that I have a scheduled meeting. I am with the mayor and a couple of councilmen there to discuss that so we can move forward and work collaboratively with the county. So even though that is not a school district function, we are meeting with them to discuss that and moving forward and expediting and ameliorating that issue. It was a safety issue between the county and the city of Peñitas, but that not related to the school district.
And with that being said, if it's something that the school district can do, I don't see why we can't
Which-
offer our schools, like we used to before, to have elections, especially because taxpayers are entitled to use our facilities as well. So our schools should be open in the future for elections.
And any board member is welcome to attend the meeting as we discuss, those issues with the mayor of Peñitas and the council of Peñitas as well. So,
But for the record, that has nothing to do with the school district. With that being said, I need a motion to approve. I have a motion by Ms. Solis, a second by Dr. Cantu. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
I'll
those
say
opposed?
nay. And I would say nay.
Okay, I have one nay and 2 and 4 approvals. Motion passes. I have a question on that one though, before we move on.
I think you need a 60% majority, do you not?
That's what I was
Only
gonna ask.
on item number 10.
Yeah, that one did not need.
Okay, that one didn't, okay.
Only on item number 10, I need 60%. On the other
With that
one,
being
sorry.
said, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Solis, I need a second.
Second.
A second by Mr. Oresti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 12:49.